As you can imagine, this is very special. So those of you who know a lot about the Venezuela situation, and it's actually really interesting about this happening in Norway, because when we first started the Freedom Forum in 2009, we told our Norwegian counterparts, Venezuela is headed toward disaster. And rather than, choosing to allow the possibility of this as a dialogue, a large sector of the Norwegian elite in the public policy side decided that we were right-wingers and Chavez was a heroic figure. And, the blinders have come off the situation in Venezuela, and a lot of people are now seeing Venezuela for the disaster that we were warning about in 2009. What has happened throughout this for more than 20 years is that Maria Corina Machado has tirelessly worked against the encroachment against human rights and against the dictatorship. And right now, after having exiled so many other political leaders, she continues to fight. And she won the primary elections with a massive, massive vote. If there was actually a democratic, fair election in Venezuela, she would win in a landslide. So they disqualified her. So she said, well, this lady should go in my stead. They disqualified her as well. So then those two decided, well, then let's let this gentleman do it. But the presidential candidate, the leader of the opposition in Venezuela today, is Maria Corina Machado, and I'm so thrilled that she's joining us. It's like 4 a.m. in Venezuela. So, Maria Corina, are you there?
Here I am. Thank you very much.
It's so wonderful to have you here. We would love to have you come out of Venezuela and speak on our stage, and we hope that one day you can, but we understand that you're in the middle of a campaign. So tell us, when is the election?
The election is only in 55 days from today, Thor. And what we're seeing is enthusiasm and energy and organization growing day by day all around Venezuela.
It is inconceivable that this government, which is now a large narcotic trafficking operation, a massive kleptocracy that steals the oil money and is involved with all kinds of other regimes, and they're ruthless and they kill. It's inconceivable that they are going to allow you to win an election, to allow your candidate, to allow your party to win an election. How is it either you are one of the most inspiring and at the same time not on the level with reality? Explain to me what is going on. How is it that you're so enthusiastic about this idea that you can actually win this?
Well, first of all, I imagine you know that we are not naive concerning what the regime is willing to do. We've been facing, as you said, persecution, violation of human rights. Part of my team is in prison right now. We cannot appear on the media. We have no resources. We have been attacked when we have rallies or we move around the country. I mean, it is obvious the regime knows that in a free election, in a competitive election, we will beat them, as you say, in a landslide. But the fact is the regime is not the same anymore. The regime is weaker and weaker every day. They have totally lost their social base, but at the same time, the networks they use for social control, for terror in the population are also breaking down. We are facing an election in which more than 80% of our people desperately want change and are willing to fight. This has turned much more than into an electoral struggle. This has turned into an ethical, an existential, even a spiritual fight for dignity, for freedom, and for having our children come back home.
That's beautiful. Now, your campaign managers have been persecuted. You've just said that a large part of your team is in prison. I know because I've spoken to some of them. Some of them are actually inside a foreign embassy seeking asylum. How is it that you are carrying out a campaign in what is a siege environment? Is it, I mean, how is that going? And how do your rallies occur?
Well, just last week, we went to a southern state, Apure, and we stopped in the way to have breakfast. A couple of hours afterwards, the regime sent officials to close. That's this tiny, small restaurant in the route. If we stay in hotels, when we travel around the country, the hotels are closed for several months. I have not been able to appear even once on TV during all this process, and many of our people that give us services, such as sound or to move around and in buses, they are looked at their search at their homes, and their trucks or equipment are detained, and for months sometimes. So this is a very tough process. We're doing it without resources. Only we have volunteers, thousands of volunteers that put all they have, their homes, their motorcycles, their savings, because we all realize that this is a unique opportunity, that the conditions we're facing are for the first time unprecedented, and that the outcome would mean a totally different reality, not only for Venezuelans, but also for our region. So this is an opportunity we cannot miss, and we certainly need you supporting us in the days to come.
Well, the perseverance that you display, the heroism and courage that you and everyone in your operation display, especially in the face of the punishments that even someone who serves you coffee will face simply for serving you coffee. They seek to erase every trace of your existence because they know that it would be difficult for them to do something more. Now, what can we do? What can we do to assist you? I mean, obviously, the international community per se, like, for instance, certain governments don't want to impose sanctions. They don't want to give visibility to this. But us, as private individuals, what can we do to assist you? And please be as granular in your request as you have been about describing the challenges that you face.
Well, first of all, I would say we need voices telling the truth. Maduro and his allies around the world had managed to convey the idea that this is all lost, that Maduro will stay in power and there's no way we can get victory. And that's totally false. I mean, this is a social, a civic movement that has so much strength that the regime is certainly worried. And we need to convey this message to the world. We are close to the possibility to defeating Maduro under the toughest conditions. We have to make the world understand what it would mean if Maduro stays by force. That would mean that we could have the biggest migration wave so far. And Venezuela is already the biggest migration crisis in the world, biggest than Syria, biggest than Ukraine. I mean, this is huge. But on the contrary, if we manage to win, we will not only see these flows of migration stopping, but we will see a big part of almost 8 million Venezuelans that are all over the world coming back. Secondly, we need support. We need resources for communication, to defend our votes, to make sure that 600,000 people on July 28 are able to do their job as volunteers, but standing firm in every single polling station around our country. We need resources to mobilize our people, and certainly to be sure that we can have the correct results in real time. And third, we certainly need moral support. We need pressure around the international community to understand that what is going on in Venezuela has the possibility to turn around the situation for a whole region. We could turn the hub of crime and destabilization in the Western Hemisphere, the regime that is the biggest ally of Putin and Iran, and turn it into a promoter of human rights and freedom for the region. And this is what's at stake right now, only 55 days away from today.
So if I can summarize, Maria Corina, the three things that you want to communicate, the main one is forget what people say that this is a lost cause. The main one is this is not a lost cause. We can actually win this in 55 days. That's your first message. The second message is you need resources. Specifically, and by resources, you mean you need communication resources, you need the ability to have people be able to mobilize 600,000 volunteers so that the votes are not stolen. And the third message is international awareness, because if this actually happens, then this hub of crime and extremism that Venezuela, that never was this way until Hugo Chavez, this nightmare can be over, and the millions of Venezuelans that have left can come home.
Absolutely. And what I want you to know, I want to convey this, is that every single Venezuelan I meet around the country, people that used to support the Chavista regime, come to me and say, I want my kids, I want my children back home. And I know the only way that could happen, or I don't want my last child to leave. And the only way to have that to happen is that we have regime change and that we can bring back home to our country. That's the only way people find future. And that's what we're building. And this is very powerful. Believe me, this is growing as we speak. And it's turning into a movement so powerful that even this regime will have to accept that we defeated them, and that victory and democracy will come back to Venezuela.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're extraordinarily inspiring to us. You're inspiring to us, you are heroic. And because I want to make sure that we don't leave this as just warm words, those of you here and those of you watching, if we want to assist you with resources, whether that's providing funds so that you can buy the Starlinks that I believe you need in order to have communication for everyone, or simply to be able to get from point A to point B, gas money, how can we get this to you? How does this work? Do you want us at the Human Rights Foundation to establish a channel and be that channel?
That's a great idea, Tor.
Okay.
Certainly, yes. And I cannot stress enough the urgency that we are facing
55
right now.
days.
But 55 days, the most important 55 days of our lives.
Well, we wish you the best. We will participate. The Human Rights Foundation will participate. Okay. Thank you, Maria Corina. Thank you.